Who wants to go first? Who has a question? Anybody. You don't have to raise your hand or anything like that. Just go ahead and shout it out. We'll take turns.
I think I can go first. Yeah.
All right, boss. Let it rip.
So I was just wondering, when you review your NBME and CMS forms,
Yes.
what would be a good way to review the NBME and CMS forms? Because I did check the reverse pyramid scheme, and you don't have the percentage breakdown for each question for each CMS form. So what would be a good way to integrate the reverse pyramid scheme maybe to the CMS form, or how would you then just review the CMS form? Is there a different approach to it, or yeah, it'll be.
That's a phenomenal question. And my advice on this will depend based upon how much time you have, really. So like, because most of the time when you're starting to take NBMEs, obviously you're getting closer to your exam, people are starting to time crunch, that kind of thing. So let's break this down into here, a couple different versions of this, and that way that it can apply to everybody that's listening. So if you are safe on time before your exam, meaning not in a time crunch, which, when does that happen, right? But we'll say that's option A. If that's the case, you should read every explanation thoroughly, top to bottom, emphasizing the missed and the correct answer the most. But the key here is you're reading everything. And the reason why that this is a little bit different is because these are by and far the most high yield things that you can essentially study for your exams, right? Like this is literally like either old test questions, questions that didn't make the cut, questions written by similar test writers. They're all basically the same ballpark as what you're going to see on the actual test. So I personally would try your best to try and dedicate enough time to be able to actually get through every single aspect of each of the answer explanations. I've actually personally seen stuff on some of the NBMEs that I've never seen elsewhere ever, even for answer choices that were not the correct answer. I remember just off the top of my head, like one of the more recent NBMEs that I went through just for the fun of it. I can't remember, it might have been 12 or 13. It was like one of the relatively new ones. I just went back to it the other day just to kind of revise some things. And there's a question on myelodysplasia that I've like never seen elsewhere. And so it wasn't even the correct answer, but the way that they explained the answer choice was just so ingenious. And I'm like, man, if I wouldn't have read that, I would have never even seen that fact. And so the NBMEs, definitely you want to dedicate even a little bit more time than you would a standard UWorld block, simply because they're the most high yield that you can get bang for your buck. Answer choice B, if you are strapped for time, meaning exam is looming, barely enough time to make it through 9 through 14, for example. What you can do is review your answer plus correct answer, keep it moving. I mean, that's really the fastest way. This is obviously suboptimal. You're going to miss a lot of stuff that could be beneficial points by doing this. But I'm going to give you here a caveat. I'd rather you review them as option B here rather than not take all the NBMEs. So if you have to pick one or the other, like super mega in-depth review or taking like 12, 13, 14 that you might have not got to, I'd rather you take them all. So take that for what it's worth. So that's why it's not really a straightforward answer. Obviously this is going to be different for every single person listening here. Somebody might have 3 weeks before their exam. They only have to take one more NBME, let's say, or whatever your situation is. That's going to be a lot different than somebody that has NBMEs left and they have 5 days till their test, you know? So definitely there's a time and a place for each option, but obviously answer choice A here is the most optimal. I want you guys really to, if you have to, and this brings up another caveat here. I'm going to put this caveat up here with answer A. If you have to choose between having time to review UWorld versus adequately reviewing NBMEs, pick the NBMEs to review instead. They're more bang for your buck. So kind of a couple caveats here, but a couple things that I think are extremely important to consider. Does that answer your question?
Yep, totally. It's really good.
Awesome. There you go. Got you, man.
Thank you, man.
For sure.
Question. So, sorry, go ahead.
It's all you, man.
So I have access to NBMEs, the CSMS for step 2, like NBME 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, and 8. Do you recommend that I do them, or are they just so outdated?
So your question is, should I do NBMEs 1 through 8, essentially, right?
Yeah.
I recommend doing NBME 6 through 8 if your schedule is permitting. I generally don't have people go back through and do NBMEs 1 through 5. I'll be honest with you. Very, very rarely have I had students do that in the last 2 years or so. Just because, I mean, think about it. 6, 7, 8, 13, 14. That's 9 right there. That's essentially like, let's say 2,000 questions. You have all the CMS forms. That's over 2,000 questions right there. You have UWorld, which is 4,000 questions. You do reverse pyramid for UWorld, that's going to end up somewhere around 7,000 questions, plus the 4,000 that we just talked about. I mean, you're over 10,000 questions there. If you need more questions, chances are it's probably a content gap at that point, or test taking. Like you're not going to get a lot more after you surpass 10,000 questions than you would have at 9,950 questions. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be marginal benefit at that point. So you need to try a different study modality. Like I've found that most students, the amount that they gain from doing questions caps out around 10,000. And so if you still need your score to go up, you need to either try a different method of content review, quizzing with a friend, Anki, watching videos, taking your own notes. You need to try something different, because it's like the same thing. Like some people could spend 1,000 hours doing Anki and maybe not get that much out of it. And it's just like, there's a certain cap for you, you just got to try something different at that point. So that's why I don't recommend doing NBMEs 1 through 5 generally. And there are outdated guidelines on there. Like I've had students that were very ambitious that wanted to do them and whatnot, but for the most part, it just adds more headache than it's worth. Good question. I'm just going to write out some of that in case anybody else is taking notes or wants to refer back to this after tonight's session.
Hey, Dr. Price, I have a quick question for the next one.
Man?
Good, how are you?
Can't complain.
That's good. So I messaged you last week, but I'm probably about 45 days out of my step 1 exam, and I'm 50% through UWorld. I'm trying my best to get to UWorld as fast as possible, like you mentioned. Anything else I should be doing regarding where I am right now? I haven't taken any of the NBMEs yet, and I plan to take it after I finish UWorld fully. And I looked through the board preparation that you put in school as well, and I read through that as well. But just, I guess, any advice?
Do you feel like you have any big weaknesses right now? Like, give us a little bit more information. You're about halfway through UWorld. Are you feel like you're really dropping the ball in a certain section? What's really been your biggest constraint?
Not really. It's just that this past month we just started dedicated recently, so it's just been finding time to get as many questions done. But right now, I guess we just started dedicated, so just slowly starting to get to the 120 questions a day and getting as many questions done as possible. And regarding the content, I wouldn't say any content heavy review or like any content lapses. It's just going to the questions, I'm learning to every single question, and I'm getting questions right because I reviewed and did the RPP method. So it's just chugging along to the method, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, and I tell pretty much every student this that is at a phase where they're like maybe halfway through UWorld or maybe a quarter of the way through UWorld, at this point, you just need more reps, right? Like, and I try and put this as bluntly as possible to everybody just to kind of give you context. Imagine right now you've done about 2,000 questions. No matter how you do the questions, what resources you use, what kind of content review you do, if somebody else has done 10,000 questions, it's hard to beat that, right? And so you just need to put in the reps right now. Like you got to really just dig in and get as much of this done as possible. And there's things that we can do to optimize, to fine tune. I could tell you do XYZ content. But at the end of the day, like it's impossible for, I would say probably 90% of students to pass the USMLE with only done 50% of your question bank. So I wouldn't expect you to be passing right now. Like if you did, that would be like incredible, right? Like sure, there's always a story out there of somebody that instead of doing questions, they did hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of another thing, like whether it's Anki or Boards and Beyond or whatever it may be, who knows? But for the vast majority of students, you're not going to pass your exam with only half of UWorld done. So it's not even worth your time to really take practice tests at that phase, to be honest with you. And I always tell people, like, if you're not scoring average into like the 65 plus range, also practice tests are kind of useless. So like if you took a practice test and your average score is a 55, what's it going to tell you? Well, I mean, you're only getting half the questions right. So obviously you're not going to pass it. So it doesn't really give you any data that you didn't know before it. You know what I mean? Like, and I know that sounds very blunt and very like straight to the point, but it's because I get that question a ton. And so the biggest thing is you know what you need to do and just get it done at this point. And closer to your exam, like say you finished UWorld. Okay, cool. Now there's a ton of things that we can do because you've already laid the foundation. You've put in that base level of work, right? But like, for example, me right now, if I'm studying for vascular boards, if I hadn't done the vascular question bank, like I have no business doing really much of anything else yet because I need to at least do that as the bare minimum.
Okay.
And if your score, absolutely. And like, if your score is let's say down in the dumps, like let's say you're scoring 30-40%, then you don't know enough to be doing the questions anyways. And so at that point, that's a different conversation. But if you're scoring 55 plus, then you need to be just doing questions, getting the reps in.
Okay, sounds
Does that
good.
make
Yeah,
sense?
that makes sense. Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. I'm just going to take a little bit of notes here, and if anybody else has any questions, then they can go ahead and shout them out. So,
Hi, Dr. Price.
how's it going? Good to
Very
see
good, and
you.
you? Yeah.
Dylan.
So my question is, do I need to do the same for level 2 for the portion of OPP to what I did for level 1? So like the OPP Q bank, the Green Book, and during medicine, or should I need to do something else? Or
That's essentially what I did. Some people like for level 2, they like including the UWorld OMT question bank. There's a couple hundred questions in there. It's not critical by any means. It's something that you can do if you have the time and you want to fine tune a little bit for COMLEX. But honestly, that's all I did. I didn't do much more than what you just said, like at all.
okay.
At that point, honestly, for me, for level 2, I was so focused on learning the stuff that was like actually medical that you're actually going to use down the road, which step 2, pretty much everything in there is like, even if you don't have a patient with this exact syndrome that you're treating or whatever, they'll have had that procedure in the past and you'll have to at least kind of be familiar with, you know what I mean? Like it's all actual medical stuff. It's not like teaching you about some biochem stuff that you're just never going to see in a million years. So it's all applicable stuff. So I just like went all in on learning that stuff. Maybe my OPP section took a hit for that. I don't know, but I don't think it's worth it to spend an inordinate amount of time preparing for that when there's so much stuff that actually is going to benefit your long-term career and your patients with the actual medical stuff. But with that being said, what you said is still a very firm basis. Like if you're doing well with that and you did all the question bank for OPP as well and you're scoring well on that, I think that you're in a good position and you'll know that
I
just by
haven't done any questions, but should I plan to do that? Doing the OPP questions from like a key bank and
Yeah. I think it's definitely beneficial to do like the True Learn OPP questions. Some
Okay.
people like Conquest, but I personally did the True Learn ones. I felt that they were decent representation of what was on the test. Obviously, on the test, anything's fair game for OPP. It sometimes feels like you're just shooting in the dark because that's how it is. But I felt the True Learn was a decent enough approximation. Like if you're not scoring at least 70 or 80% on their OPP questions, then definitely circle back and let me know and we can adjust some things. But I would do that. And if you're scoring in a good position, I wouldn't put a lot more time and effort into it than that.
okay, thank you.
So
I
anybody else
also
have
have a
any?
quick question. Oh, go
Hey,
ahead. I just had a quick question. So like my school, like they mandate that we take the ComSci and pass it before taking X. So do you have like any advice or tips on ways to prepare for the ComSci? I know TrueLearn does give like a practice ComSci, but I also know that like I saw in school you were saying to kind of leverage UWorld more than doing the TrueLearn questions.
couple things. ComSci is just a extremely poor approximation of anything, even for the COMLEX, let alone USMLE. So number 1, I wouldn't stress about that. Number 2, just continue preparing as you know that you need to do. Some people the week before their ComSci, they like to transition their UWorld questions to TrueLearn questions. Totally fine if you want to do that to see some of that OPP spin on things. Not mandatory by any means, but a lot of students do like to do that. I wouldn't spend more than a week to 10 days doing that though, because then you just lose time that you could be doing your UWorld. But really the biggest thing is for the ComSci, I wouldn't walk into it having not studied OPP because generally you'll get some free points with that. That'd be the biggest change, honestly. So if you want to do the entire TrueLearn OPP section and then do all the OPP integrated questions as well, that will certainly serve you well.
Okay. So not just the pure OMM, but also the integrated as well.
Yeah, and if you don't get through all the integrated ones, that's fine. I know that there's a lot of them, but 100% do all the pure OMM. And if you have time that week prior, the ones that I would also add on would be the integrated ones.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.